my name is Tatiana Green. I'm a sociology major and a humanities scholar at Fresno State University. I recently graduated Fresno City College with an associate's degree in paralegal. I want to talk about higher education. I have heard the phrase, education is the key since kindergarten. Although I have never taken it serious until I was 27. I'm challenging people that want better for themselves and for their families to seek higher education, despite the barriers and despite the challenges. Recent studies from Georgetown University shows that college graduates earn $1 million more over a lifetime than high school students. This study has determined that there is a $17,500 gap in pay between the two per year. It was a long road getting to where I am academically. I'm originally from the west side of Chicago. I was born to teen parents. I lived in an all-black neighborhood, so I had minimal exposure to other cultures. The education was horrendous and crime was high. I even failed third grade. When I was young, these were my burdens. At 14, I moved away from Chicago to live with my aunt, who is now a retired Navy veteran. Back then, she was active duty, and her mission was to remove my brother from the toxic environment of urban life. But she ended up saving me. Our first move was to Puerto Rico. Oh yeah, and my brother only stayed with us 8 months. But our first move was to Puerto Rico. And even though I went to school on base, it was a culture shock. I lived around only black people my entire life. Next, we moved to Lemoore, California, where I went to Lemoore High School. This move removed a lot of the challenges of urban life. But new challenges arose, such as displacement from my mother and other family members and friends, and dealing with people from other races, placing me completely out of my element. During this time, the schools I attended were much more challenging. I struggled, but I was determined to make it through. My last stop before graduating high school was back to Chicago. My aunt was sent to Greece, and I couldn't go. But I went back to Chicago to live with my mother. Therefore, back to the abysmal school system that failed to adequately educate me throughout my elementary years. No surprise, I was ahead and bored. And when a student is bored, it's never a good outcome. Plus, the inner city offered other distractions. I was a senior and I moved back to Chicago. I ended up failing the majority of my classes the first semester, which meant the second semester I had to attend all of my regular classes, plus I had to attend 2 night school classes after my regular classes and Saturday school, and then I had to attend summer school to make sure I graduated on time. I felt like I barely made it through, but I graduated high school. After this experience, I just knew school wasn't for me. It was too hard, I wasn't smart enough, and college was too expensive. Anyway, so I made my way back to California, but I did try online school, and with that failed attempt, it solidified my negative self-talk. From there, I made my way to Vegas, and if you didn't know, not everything that happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. I picked up a husband, and I picked up 2 kids, which are in my bed, while I was there. My plan was to go military, but those plans were kind of dashed when I was 21 due to health exclusions. From 21 to 27, I had various jobs, even went back to school for cosmetology. However, it led me nowhere but to debt. By the way, if you can help it, steer clear of those for-profit schools. Their short-term programs can be very enticing, but in California, many city colleges offer similar programs, and they offer the Board of Governors waiver, BOG waiver, for those who qualify, as well as other subsidy programs. Fast forward, I'm 27 and I'm separating from my husband, my spouse, and find myself learning to be a single parent for the first time. When any major event happens, one tends to reflect back on life and question where has the time gone and what was accomplished. Through other unfortunate events, I also found myself on welfare, and TANF was demanding that I meet my participation hours. I knew they helped people with school, but I had no idea how much support they gave. After I started school, I also received low-income housing for the first time in my life, which alleviated a lot of financial burdens. Everything came together for me at the right time. With TANF, which is cash assistance, combined with FAFSA, which is financial aid, EOPS care, low-income housing, and a bunch of other subsidies, this provided my family and I with the resources to make my journey to CSU Fresno possible. This was not an easy road to venture down at all. During my first 2 years at Fresno City, I had tremendous amounts of institutional support. However, in my private life, I experienced tremendous amounts of stress. This includes the death of 2 key members of my family. The first was during my first semester when I first started college, and my last semester prior to me graduating college, I had another death. During school, I also faced relocating my family at 45 minutes outside of town. That was my first subsidized housing assignment. I experienced or had to go through nasty custody battles, and this list really continues on. It was a lot. One of my biggest hurdles that I faced last semester and this semester was childcare. This barrier alone is enough to deter any single parent that lacks resources away from education. I decided I wanted to obtain my bachelor's degree in spring of 2017. I started in summer of 15. I was already halfway through my academic program. This was truly a last decision to get a bachelor's degree. But I was pressed to go hard or go home. Why get an associate's when you can get a bachelor's? And to bring my goals to fruition, I had to take additional classes on top of my major coursework. I had to work hard to also get accepted into a university. CSU Fresno was my first choice for various reasons. Throughout junior college, I struggled. It was not easy. I was uncomfortable, and I often wanted to quit. I had so many problems at home. The work was too hard, and I felt that I was not smart enough. But through everything, I made it. I never thought that I could, but I did. And I maintained a 3.0, above a 3.0 throughout my journey, throughout my 2 years. In high school, I was lucky to get a 2.0. I was accepted in Fresno State, and a new journey began. At City, I was a paralegal major. At CSU Fresno, I had to switch majors to sociology. This was my first semester at Fresno State, and I struggled through every minute of it. On top of all of that, when I went to from Fresno City to Fresno State, I lost a lot of subsidies. I lost a lot of support. There's a lot of money that I don't get. There's a lot of things that I don't get. And my child care situation only got worse. But my teachers did not allow me to make that an excuse. I was told to bring my kids to class with me. That's how much they care. In the past, people have told me What can I get from college that I can't get on my own? And I'm going to tell you, vital connections, a network. We do not just sit in class and stare at the professors. We are introduced to working professionals all over the country. Our professors are mentors, guiding us down to our chosen path, because we don't always know what we want to do. In tonight's class, I met 4 working professionals, one for a CBO, a nonprofit that I want to work for. You don't get these opportunities to meet these people all in one room, all together, to get an introduction, to get a card. You don't get that outside of school. I have also been offered, since I've been in school, multiple jobs just for being in college. I've declined them because this is a lot. I'm struggling. But I've declined them because that's not the goal. The goal is to educate myself and obtain a bachelor's degree so I can build a career. And today, at 31 years old, I know education is the key. I challenge you to take the first steps today into looking into your local JC and educate yourself into a career and a bright future for your family. I challenge you to take the hard road to success. What have you got to lose? Thank you guys for listening.